Hello there, welcome back. I'm Christy Lemire. That is Alonso Duralde. There's a lot of television in the world. There's a lot of television that we try to review here at What the Flick. And, you know, there's only so many hours in the day. And there are many, many, many quality programs to watch. And so there's a really good piece in this month's Vanity Fair, the May issue of Vanity Fair, asking if peak TV is slowly killing TV critics. Because for a long time when you were a TV critic, different from being a film critic, when you were a TV critic, you would get like the first couple episodes beforehand of a new show or a new season of a show. And you could kind of watch those and review those and then like follow along each week, and you know, it was manageable, it was doable.
Right.
And now
you still get those preview episodes if you're a professional TV critic, which I am not, but
neither am I.
But there's just I can't begin to imagine how they do it, because even just sort of trying to figure out what we're going to talk about here and what to see, you know, it's become this running joke where whatever it is we are recapping, all the comments are about the 15 other shows that we're not recapping. And my response is, we are all going to spend the rest of our lives watching all the shows that are on right now. Because frankly, I mean, look, I don't know how long the Netflix, Hulu, and all these other Amazon models will hold up. But there can't be this much television. No one can watch this much I can't even just keep up with my Netflix shows, much less all the other ones. And any party you go to where the conversation turns to this.
Have you seen whatever it is?
It's like, at first it goes on forever because everybody's got 10 suggestions and no one has seen all of them. And half the time it's getting to where it's shows I never even heard of. Like, you're making that one up.
What has stumped you that someone tried to tell you
I can't even remember the name now, but like there was some show on Amazon about like a summer camp or something, and I'm like, I got nothing. You know?
Yeah, they talked to a lot of veteran, long-time, very established, respected TV critics for this piece, Alan Sepinwall and Jeff Jensen and Maureen Ryan. And they talk about how you cannot get to it all.
No.
Because even if they do give you things early, what happens is they'll give you like 8 episodes of something early, so you got to watch them all, and it's not the usual commercial television structure where like it's 22 minutes for a 30-minute whole television.
The full 30, the full 60,
or more.
And FX shows are like an hour 15.
If it's Netflix, they can be anywhere from like 40 minutes to an hour plus. So. This piece is really good. Sepinwall compares it to hacking through a jungle with a machete. Jeff Jensen equates it to triage in an ER, just trying to stem the bleeding.
Did you know Matt Zoller-Seitz when you were at SMU? Were you all there at the same time?
So Matt Seitz and I, he's like he's like 2-3 years ahead of me. Yes, because we were both at the Daily Campus.
Oh, and now you work with him at Roger Ebert.
And now he's my boss at Roger Ebert. Yeah, and he's a longtime Dallas guy.
But
brilliant.
He writes about TV for Vulture, and I mean, I've seen he has stayed in my apartment when he's been in LA working on stuff, and the guy doesn't sleep. Like he'll collapse at the kitchen table in the middle of writing something, and he'll get up a few hours later and finish the article. And I'm sure he can't even keep up with this stuff.
Yeah, no. So I don't know how you choose. And these critics say in this article that part of the fun of this job for a long time was finding some unheralded gem. And like that is your purpose, is to herald that gem and to shine a light on it for the rest of the world. And now there's
too
panic.
many gems.
There's panic and there's fear. It's like, oh my God, what if I chose the wrong one? What if there are other ones I haven't found? And I realize all of this sounds like, well, there's too much television, your jobs. We're not taking ditches or getting shot at.
It's an embarrassment of riches, but it's basically, it's that Lucy episode where they speed up the conveyor belt. And it's like, you know what? I bet those chocolates are all delicious, but they're coming too fast and I can't deal with all of them,
Yeah, Maureen Ryan compares the current landscape to, quote, 10 fire hoses being trained on your body. And every time you open your inbox, it's like, oh, good, there's a new fire hose, yay. So, of course, these are all very clever writers. They find good, descriptive ways to describe it. But
and on top of everything else, in addition to the fact that you've got all these cable channels and all these streaming services that are really like, creating these fascinating, must-see, talk-about shows, we're now also, I think, getting unprecedented access to international TV. No. And so it's like, what? You haven't watched Borgen yet? So it's like all these Australian procedurals and
or baking shows.
Or baking shows.
All
yeah,
the baking shows you can watch.
I'm seriously, I honestly believe that 20 years from now we're still going to be circling back to like 2017, and I finally got to Sneaky Pete.
I just finally watched Stranger Things with my kid, and so I'm ready for season 3, and that's about the extent of it. You mentioned that we try to get to a lot of stuff on What the Flick here. We're going to talk about Westworld later on. How do you choose, you and the folks who do TV reviews, how do you choose what you're going to talk about?
Again, it's a crapshoot. A lot of times it's either a new show from a known quantity that we like, whether it's a creator or an actor or whatever, or just something that we have a good feeling about. But then, it becomes a thing where sometimes after a few episodes we lose interest in it and decide to bail. Sometimes it's clear that there's not a lot of viewing interest in it. And we're like, okay, well, we're not going to, look, that's an hour we could be watching something else.
Right.
If we're not going to get the numbers from TYT people. So it's kind of you're just kind of guessing most of the time.
One person who has created a lot of television that has been pretty consistent as far as the fascination it generates is Ryan Murphy. And there's a big piece, it's long, in The New Yorker about how Ryan Murphy became the most powerful person in television. And it's fascinating. It goes back all to his childhood in Indiana, rural Indiana, and how he knew he was gay very young, and he had this very tough father, and but the dad, abusive father, but that could not contain his need to create and be larger than life, and his shows reflect a grandiosity. He talks about how he hates camp. Camp is a very negative word. What do you like about Ryan Murphy?
Well, there is a lot that I like about him. I do like that he swings for the fences. He goes big. He talks about he doesn't like camp, that he prefers Baroque, which I think is a good description. Yeah. And camp is a crazily misused word, because camp traditionally is meant to talk about things that are trying to be serious and fail and thus become funny.
Unintentionally so.
Unintentionally so. Whereas like what he says, John Waters, or what Ryan Murphy's doing, they know exactly what they're doing.
They mean
so
it.
It's over the top, it's big, it's Baroque, it's outrageous, but it's not camp per se because it's all intentional.
Right. So I know you love Glee. Glee is maybe the thing he's best known for. I mean,
it's probably his biggest hit. I mean, the thing about Glee, and what I think points out for me a big problem with Ryan Murphy, is that I think he has, and the article even talks about this, he's got like 1 or 2 seasons in him, and then he gets distracted. And he loses interest.
He does a lot of stuff at once.
He does a lot of stuff at once, but it's like, and I think maybe that's why anthology television is good for him, and especially I think something like, People versus OJ, or I was less into Versace than most people, but when he is at least sort of constrained to reality, that helps, as opposed to him just going off on, so I think Glee was great, and then it was terrible, and then it had a great last season because it knew it was the last season. It was like, what the heck.
And now he's got a new show coming out called Pose, which we'll, I'm sure, talk about eventually, which is about the whole Vogue scene in New York in the 80s.